It's a $900 billion bipartisan proposal. The vote could be as early as today in Congress. It's intended to blunt the fallout economically, not on the stock market side and so much as it is on the individual side and small business side. It'll be a combined $1.4 trillion in spending to fund government operations for the fiscal year, so that there's not a government shutdown.
$600 instead of the $1,200 last time. One interesting note, though, Jordan, last time children got $500 each. Under this agreement, it looks like they're going to get $600 each. So a typical family of four making less than $150,000 could get up to $2,400 in direct checks.
As we get into the vaccination phase of this, and hopefully things will get better quickly, you still have the lingering economic impact of this that is, had some significant impact on a lot of people, and especially a lot of small businesses, which employ most of the people in the United States of America. So I think what we have here, is the framework of something that'll be very, very good. Again, for the short term. These are not long-term solutions. The long-term solution is to get the economy open back up fully when we've got this pandemic more under control.
$284 billion specifically in those forgivable loans through the Paycheck Protection Program, $20 billion for businesses in low-income communities, and $15 billion for struggling live venues, independent movie theaters, museums. There's rental assistance and eviction moratoriums again in here. There's airline aids. There's tax breaks. I mean, again, it might not have everything that everybody wanted, but let me tell you something, folks. It really looked like we were going to be heading into the end of the year with nothing, with no stimulus. And I think it took a lot of brave Republicans, some brave Democrats, who really bucked Nancy Pelosi and said, we're not going to do this. We're not going to continue to punish the American people for the coronavirus and the shutdowns and lockdowns.
The president and even Senator Bernie Sanders were calling for this kind of direct stimulus directly to the American people months ago. It was Speaker Pelosi who didn't want to do that. She wanted to spend trillions of dollars mainly on state bailouts.
This is, again, just earlier in the month, and why she wouldn't do this, before the election. Why not make it clear to the American people that they weren't going to have to worry about this as they cast their votes?
You don't have to accept half of a vote months ago when you said, I'm not going to accept half a vote.
Look, I'm going to tell you something.
Now,
Don't characterize what we did before as a mistake, as a preface to your question, if you want an answer. That was not a mistake. It was a decision, and it has taken us to a place where we can do the right thing without other, shall we say, considerations in the legislation that we don't want. Now, that is it. Now, the fact is, I'm very proud of where we are.
This is, again, the doublespeak. Nancy Pelosi saying she wouldn't take half. And basically, if you look at most of this,
She took half.
She took half. Instead of $1,200 an individual, it's $600. So it could be up to $2,400 for a family of four, and that could be more for a bigger family. But it's half of everything.
It's half. But they extended the supplement, another $300. And I think that's important
It is
per
important.
week, because that gives people the extra they need to get through this. Look, we're all hoping that with the vaccines now being deployed, but it's going to take months and months and months for that to be effective. I mean, that we got to keep the economy going.
The reason you try to get these bills narrowly tailored, so, checks and small business assistance and unemployment insurance, and then hold off those other ridiculous pork spending projects that Speaker Pelosi wanted, including bailouts for the state, is in case you do need to come back and you do need to pass additional stimulus for the people who have actually been directly harmed by the pandemic. You need to keep it narrowly tailored to that in case an additional tranche is needed. You won't have spent all that money already.
People needed something, and they needed something to make sure their landlords weren't going to have to kick them out, and so it had to help the landlords, have to also give a moratorium on evictions, which this does again. They need to make sure they can keep their people on payroll. A lot of small businesses, that's all they've been trying to do. Not make money, just keep their people on payroll so they didn't have to fire their staff. And the good thing about the PPP loans is that the costs are deductible, and it's really it's a forgiven loan if you keep your staff on.
The idea is if they get that $2,400, they're going to spend that in the economy. That means more people will be paid, more restaurants will, if they can open, will stay open. But as we're getting into probably the most difficult 2 or 3 months of this pandemic, and that's what it looks like we're hitting, businesses are going to be hurting. So, Than, I'm worried that this isn't, this is great, but I'm not sure this is enough. There may be another one needed. We've talked about that before to keep the economy afloat and the American people afloat.